times build character.
This isn't just a show, this is real life. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
You gotta see it before anyone else can see it.
Every second, every minute, every day.
We train for life. We got you.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here for episode number 4, season 2, the Relentless Way podcast. Today we are back with some more Q&A the Relentless Way. Paul Alvear here with my longtime childhood friend Max Strout and Relentless business partner. We are excited to be back, obviously, for season 2 as the ball has been rolling. Hoping that everyone's found some time to either go back and listen to season 1 and catch up a little bit, or even just start off at season 2 and revisit that another time. We've had some unbelievable guests. This is our second Q&A episode, which has been really cool because we're able to answer some questions on the spot. So this is our first time hearing a lot of these questions. From the first time we did it was from coaches, and this time is going to be from members. Today our topic at hand is staying ahead with innovation while still focusing on the now. It has been a very thing at the core of our Relentless movement and what we do, because business is always going, it's always moving. We're always challenged to stay innovative, and always challenged, obviously, to grow, which brings the future into play, but focus on the now, right?
Yeah, 100% well said. And I think, number one, I like to just say that I'm loving the Q&As. I think that's a really cool way to get everybody integrated in and kind of put us on spot as well. So it's cool because it kind of allows us to dig deep on the spot and find some really cool answers from these great people that we've been able to surround ourselves with. So I'm happy with bringing that community closer and closer and allow us all to connect. But like Paul said, I mean, it's business itself is like a living organism. It's a forever growing thing. And I think what we've tried to do and have done, I think we're the best at it, is to really mold our whole lives into one. So it's like, it's just who we are now. So I think who we wanted to become is who we're the best version of who we always wanted to be. And now we understand we need to continuously grow. But I think we've realized how we needed to make ourselves who we wanted to be, period. Like, it wasn't just Paul or Matt as a leader inside of Relentless, inside of a given moment of coaching and leading, but it's just who we are 24/7, 365. And I think that's been something that has organically just taken place. And I think where it comes from is being, for me personally, and I know you can contribute to this as well, but it's like, it feels good to know that, like, when people in their lives have and don't know what to do and don't know where to go, that we get that phone call. And I think it takes it's pressure, but it's also prideful. And I think it reminds us why we must keep working on ourselves day in and day out and be able to be present, but also be able to see futuristic moves. But I think we like that, we like that on us, because I believe that we want to be in that position. We want to be that calm. We want to help people get through hard times because we've been there ourselves, and we've always been able to stick together through those things, and we understand how important that is for just people to stay connected to people. So, again, loving this. I'm excited to get it going, and to hear these questions here and, dig deep inside of our heads and come up with some cool answers.
For sure. Definitely at the core of what we've been doing as a movement the last year or so is a lot of people focusing on self first, being a little selfish in this world, that a lot of chaos and a lot of crazy things can happen and can occur. So this is actually, believe it or not, we did 15 episodes season 1, and we're on to season 2, episode 4 now, so that's 18 episodes down. This might be, just looking at it and the way it's got our minds going and how we're thinking, I'm excited for these questions, obviously, to get them going more, but this might be my favorite topic, just because, like you said, it is something that has been at the core every day, and we've seen so much growth from thinking in this way. I'm very excited to kind of talk about some different ways that we go about this, some ways that we've grown, some ways that we've learned, maybe getting too far ahead of ourselves, maybe not looking far enough ahead. So this is a cool topic. I'm just as excited as you are about it. And we're going to start it off with question number 1. We're going to get it going right away. So let's pull that up. Let's load it up. We have had some great members step up to the table and take some time to ask these questions. We're looking in the future to get anyone else involved. Our coaches will be reaching out. They collect them for us, so it's a surprise for us. Family, friends, any listeners from near and far, please reach out if you want to be involved and let us know how you want to be involved, whether it is questions or not. So our first question comes from Jules. She has been a member with us for, I believe, about a year or so. Younger girl, cool, very good conversation inside the facility, hard work ethic. Very excited to hear what she has to say. She always brings some good stuff to the table.
Hi, my name is Jules. I have been a member of Relentless for a little over a year now. And my question to Matt and Paul is about remaining present in their everyday life. With starting their days so early and having infants and a family at home, I wanted to know how they make sure they stay present with their family members and with the members of Relentless without becoming overworked or overtired.
Question.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
For sure. I'm going to start this one off. I think like Matt said, or I know, like Matt said, it's cool because being the type of people we are, the type of team we are, the type of movement we are, it's all about taking care of yourself and prepping yourself for moments and being prepared, whether it's through working out physically, whether it's through building yourself mentally and emotionally too. We have pride ourselves with that, or of that in the last year or so. The pandemic came along, which gave us a little more free time with our minds and a little more time to dig into that as a team and as a family as well, as families as well. So it starts with being able to ask yourself that question. It starts with you being able to say, what do I want to be? Where do I want to go? How do I perceive my family to grow and all questions to the future, right? It starts with asking questions of what you want, how you want it to go for you. Ask your loved ones those questions. Ask your team those questions. Anyone that's around you in life and that's going to be part of this journey, it starts with asking those questions, I believe. And then from there is really when you start answering those questions is when you get a lot of good stuff to be able to put that best foot forward and build those things out. So in the short, it's really just to be prepared. Matt and I, very like-minded. We have a lot of great conversations. But I know for a fact before Amelia was born and before Jackson was born, we sat down. We've had many conversations from years back, right, when we have kids. We've learned from some of our unbelievable members and family that have done great things, and we've learned from their mistakes and from their positive decisions too, and they know that. So, thank you to everyone listening that knows who they are, that has influenced us in that way, and also, we're proud of ourselves for being prepared for that. Again, you're never fully prepared. Shit happens every day, as we talked about on our last episode, right? But I think for me it starts with being prepared, and knowing what you want the future to look like, and then going and putting in the work in the now.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a great point. I mean that's where it all has to start somewhere. So vision is what it is, and I think it's important because you got to understand that it's all about teammanship. So, we take a lot of pride in painting our vision for the Relentless movement with our team, but I believe it's important also to paint that vision at home, with your significant other, be a team. So, like Paul's saying, you have to understand that big picture, So it's okay to take that step out for a second and see the whole thing. Paul and I take a lot of pride in molding our worlds together. It's not just about going to work for us. It's about building something huge and great that everyone could be a part of. So this is a 24/7, 365 thing, and it's about picking each other up and moving through these things. And I think when you have that in your work life, like I don't necessarily call this work. Like I like to call it building. Like we're builders and we're building an empire. So we're on just like 20. It's not about like punching a clock. Like we don't keep track of our hours. It's always on. But I think it's also understanding that at home you have a role too, and you want to be that. Who do you want to be? You know, I take a lot of pride in legacy. Like, what is the legacy that's going to be left for now our babies that are going to perceive us and look up to us? We want to leave the best. We want them to look at us and be like, I want to be like that when I get older. Like, you want to lead by example. So I think it's a never-ending process. So I think you have to understand that first, like Paul said, is paint that vision, be a team, and know what you're fighting for. So I call it the Stroud Empire, but it's like, this is what we're building. We play for financial and time freedom. Me and my wife are a team. We talk about it where we understand that we both have roles to play, and we need to, like Paul said, if we see this and we know what we're playing every day for, then when we're down in the trenches doing our day-to-day activities, we know why we're doing it to bring us together as one and to be able to have that time and financial freedom. And then I think that, the vision, and then it's also just understanding that it's going to take a lot of discipline. It's not always going to feel good. It's about understanding what you need to do in order to be that person you want to be, and learning how to disconnect from your feelings in the moment of how you feel, but what needs to be done. Like, what needs to be done in order to keep building you to be that version of yourself that you're creating has to be done. Right. How you feel doesn't necessarily matter. So I believe discipline. That's a big one, yeah. Discipline is a huge major factor for me of just, day in and day out, compounding and stacking on top of it. I know I'm putting in work every single day of my life, and bottom line is I know it's going to emerge, and all that time in, what you do when no one's watching plays a big role,
Right.
So.
And discipline's challenging too, nowadays more than ever, because there are so many variables and external forces in the world. So it's even to the most disciplined people and regimented people, it's a very, very challenging thing to stay on track. We talk about this a lot. The accessibleness. Let's go back to family, work, whatever it is, whatever the balance is. We're as easily accessible at work as we've ever been to our loved ones. Right, we're as easily accessible at home as we've ever been to our workmates. So it's there's a lot of variables involved. That is a great question by Jules to start us off and really get our minds going. In a thinking mode of that direction of a building way.
The one thing I'll add just to compliment about the baby was the middle of night feeds and like all that stuff. Waking up, having that baby, it almost just reminded and reiterated, because when I woke up at whether it was 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, those weird hours, waking up to feed my little baby girl felt like nothing. It felt like it was the right thing to do. I had no feeling of like, I don't want to do So what it did for me in that moment was it showed me that like, if you truly love what you do and what you have to do it for, it feels fine. It feels right. So I think for me it was about understanding and connecting that huge picture and being like, you're capable of way more than you actually really know as a human being, but it's about understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if you could constantly understand that, it'll allow you to do amazing things that you may not even be, or may not even know that you were capable of doing.
Mm-hmm. And I think to add to that, it's like there's a lot of other forces too. We talk about our children leading off, right? They're young, they're both around a year old, give or take, and think about it though, that doesn't just happen when something comes into your life like a child, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen when another loved one comes into your life, when you meet your significant other, your wife, your future husband, your future wife. It's built over years and years, because if you go back, I'd like to think and know that we were those same people that, if there's truly people around us that we love and that we believe in and that we trust and we care about, and all those values link up, or they're just in our circle, we're going to wake up and do things like that for those people. We're going to wake up early. We're going to go to work with them. Yeah. We're going to be there in the middle of the night if they call, and vice versa, us for them and them for us, So I think a lot of those values are built, and again, some people may ask like, well, just because you want something in the future, right? You want the results at the gym. You want to clear your mind, and you want to get to this place of clear thinking, it doesn't mean it just happens when you start doing these things in the now, right? So there's no better time than now to start practicing those ways of focusing on the future and working on it in the now, because then it's going to build up, because then the now very quickly becomes the past.
Yeah.
And I know that's a huge thing, because I've dealt with it and understanding when I'm working in the now, my subconscious mind just reflects back to the past. And it just says, I've done something like this before.
Yeah.
It might not be waking up and feeding a baby. It might not be, rushing to the facility because a team member needs something, right? But my whole life, or for a large part of when I was working on myself in the now, I worked on being the best person I could be to be there and help someone or do something and not ask questions, just step up and do something out of true passion and love. And if I found that along the way, I didn't still have the urge to do it when I got that call, then it wasn't meant to be. So don't completely neglect that situation or that what's going on, but set it up and communicate, right? And make sure that whatever is needed for those moments is still there for that person, or find a way to cut it out for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
But great question. Opens up a lot of floodgates and lets our mind get going a little bit. If you are watching on YouTube and you see me kind of working around a little bit, right now today there's nobody behind the camera. It's just Matt and I in the cafe today, filming and recording. So I'm setting up the headshots and everything, having fun with it, making sure we can get content out to everybody, making sure we can get good words out to everyone, and just keep inspiring and building all together. So with that said, our second question is going to come from, let's load it up. It is going to come from Ira Gorski. Ira's been with us for about 3-4 years or so. Awesome guy, established in the professional world. I know he's going to have a great question coming up here for sure.
This is Ira Gorski. I've been coming to Relentless for about 4 years. During that time, I've seen you build and develop a great team here at Relentless. Could you talk a little bit about your management philosophy?
That's the truth. Ira pays attention to detail, that's for sure. So he's watching. We have some great conversations about that. We're both advocates of just dedication to self, leadership, evolution. But one of the big things that we always connect on is understanding that little things add up to big things.
Right.
He's a little older than myself, so he has that wisdom. Paul and I are always trying to pull wisdom, like you said earlier, from people, either learning from good things that they've done that we want to emulate, or learning also from things that we don't like that we want to make sure that we don't do again. So I believe that was one of Paul and I's secret weapons before we even knew that we had that. We've kind of done that throughout our years, and now we do it purposefully with intent every day. So I think for a while, I think it was about us trying to go out of our way. We thought that we were going to build others, but I think it was just a different thought process, right? And I think the quarantine, the pandemic, really, I put a lot back to that, because like Paul said earlier, said something great, was it allowed us for the first time in our journey, which was a very long time, 8-9 years almost at that point, we were in the trenches day in and day out every day of our life. So we were working in the business, on the business, up early, late, this, that. We're trying to wear all the hats constantly. And I think that first day that you and I went home and took a deep breath, okay, that was the first time, the first day, and then it was the second day, the third day, and it unfortunately went a little longer than probably would have liked to. It went for a few months, but we didn't waste any time. We tapped into our minds, and I think during that time, it truly allowed us to understand we always knew we were going to get to where we were going to go, because we're just tough, we're persistent, and we're passionate and hard workers. But we never truly knew how we were going to get there. We were just going to work and figure it out. I think during that time, it allowed us to really start aligning certain things and seeing how we were going to slowly start connecting the dots. And I think one of the big things from that moment was taking the livelihoods of everyone around us so deep to our hearts. So in that moment, we knew we were shutting down. And the first thing we said to each other is, we got to take care of our team, and then we got to take care of our members. We know we'll be good, and we know everyone will be good, but we need to let them know that they're going to be good. And this is how we're going to do that. And I think understanding the importance behind our team was everything. So it's always been about the team, but then it took even more. Like, wow, these people are looking at us like they have no clue what they're going to do, and we said, no, we're okay. Because in 2013, when we decided to take this movement to the next level, we prepped for this. We're ready. You're going to be able to get yourself situated and have your income coming in, and we're going to work through this. And in that moment, it leveled us up, I believe, as leaders, and to know that this is real deal. Like, these livelihoods of these people look to us as leaders to help them grow, evolve, and to survive, right? To make an income for themselves. So I think it started with just understanding the severity of it, and then being like, wait a second, though, we want this. We want people to look at us and trust us as leaders to run into this. And I think we were always kind of doing it, but that took it to a whole different level. And you and I, in that moment, started dedicating more than ever time to ourselves through mental, physical, and emotional, like we say, through physical movement as well as educational, learning, listening, asking questions, evolving, and knowing that as leaders in the movement of our team, we must constantly grow as leaders so we can always be learning, growing, and pulling, and then bringing back and giving to them.
Right. I want to go back to the start, to the beginning. We were friends and family, all working together for a bigger movement. That movement might not have been defined as much as it is today, but it was more natural. It was literally everyone that was working inside of the Relentless walls was friends or family or someone closely connected. So those relationships were established already. The teammanship was there already, right? We were just all driving for. We knew like that was already to the not to the side, but that was already right. We figured we were all in it for the same mission. We're connected. It was just go, go, go. Building ideas. It's so much different early on in a relationship, in building anything you do, right? Now, fast forward to 2020, it's a whole different ballgame. Those coaches that were with us are near dear friends and family earlier on, and that aren't with us anymore. We start filling those spots, and people start coming in to build our team, which is now bigger than ever. You know, we went from, say there was 5 or 6 of us at that time, now to 10, 12, 13 of us right now. So now, exactly what Matt said, we had to take this time to start building those relationships and connections more earlier on. So when coaches, these young coaches that you're hearing, and 2 episodes back, if you heard questions from Coach Leah, you see Coach Jenna out there, Coach Brian, who's involved with us all the time. A lot of the younger coaches, we have to build these relationships and connections with them as teammates, right? And I think to Ira's question of managing, which is managing / leading / coaching, whatever you want to call it, that for a moment we didn't realize the importance of that for us to get to the other places and for us to then go into the facility and go to work with them, be able to turn left, turn right, make a call and say, hey, you got me here, I got you there, to be able to do those things, right? So it's just understanding, to answer Ira's question directly, it's understanding the people that you're dealing with, understanding the setting. I'm not talking about what kind of emotions, that's a whole nother world of what makes them tick, that's part of it too, but just understanding that, hey, we need to work on this right now before we start taking those steps forward as a team. Right, so rewind back to the beginning, we just started marching right away. We've known each other for 10, 15 years, most of us that were working together. Right? There's no question. Now we've known each other for minutes, days, months. Now that is a question that is out there, that is in the air in these moments that we're going back to back in the trenches together.
No, it's such a great point. I'm going to go back now to a book that I read, Taking Ownership. Extreme Ownership. I apologize. Extreme Ownership, but it revolves around taking ownership. So taking ownership as a leader to understand it, like a couple things, like are we painting the vision well enough for people to see it? If they're not getting it, we need to take ownership as leaders and help them get it. Right. So it was a big mindset shift of understanding that, like, all right, me and you, we've done all right ourselves inside as like Paul the coach or Matt the coach, right? We've done well for ourselves, but now we're playing like a much bigger game, right? We say it all the time, like we're playing now to take the game over, and to, when someone thinks of human development or evolution of themselves, they think relentless. That's what we're doing now. So this game is it's big, right? So like we need to make sure that how do we take, like you said, how do we take the culture, how do we take the things that just happened in the beginning? Now, how do we take that, and then how do we take someone that we just met, and how do we expedite them to believe, love, and feel that same way, and then start marching in the same direction, like you said? And I think it really started with us really having to step back and have talks with each other, being like, yeah, this is on us.
Right.
So how do we fix it? So what we did was we took one step back to take those 3 steps forward of figuring out who we are, what we stand for, how are we going to get there, and then simplifying it down, simplification. So like, how do we say the same thing multiple different ways so that everyone could understand it, but then also allow them to actually like see it. Like we could have these really cool conversations, but to go back and reiterate and like, so I think that's what we had to do. And I think, you know, to go talk, to credit back to our last podcast of Jack Cole, our experienced director, when he came in, he really connected with us and allowed us to help to be able to scale the brand and the culture of who we are in our deepest soul, and then let everyone that wants to be a part of this movement understand that first, and then say, hey, are you down with this? And if you are, this is exactly how we're going to bring you in and make you successful at the same time.
Which is cool because as of recent, we've been, you know, we always have team meetings and individual meetings on certain things, but as of recent, our focus in our individual meetings have been more than ever finding out who each coach is and what they stand for, you know, for themselves. Like not us defining them, defining who they are and what role they want to play. So awesome stuff on leadership. That's a great question by Ira. You know, we could go on for days on management and leadership, and we have a couple episodes on that. Always a great topic and a great direction because it is at the core of building our team and working towards the future, you know. That's another challenging thing is there's so many brains now on the team, you know, like I said, there's 12, 13 of us. So everyone has these ideas and these futuristic things. Oh, we should do this, we should try this, right? We're also seeing inside of our strong team, a lot of these individuals start taking action on their own towards those ideas, just as we did 8, 9, 10 years ago. You know, we're taking our mission and our minds are defined more than ever where we want to go. That's clearer than ever for you and I. We're letting them develop their vision and where they're going, and it's becoming clearer for them, and that's okay because we're all going to meet at a happy place and a happy point, right, of some sort. But we have to let them think that way and not let them. We have to encourage them to continue to think that way, be innovative and be open-minded, and let their wings fly inside the Relentless movement, you know?
I think, just to add something to that, I think to settle it down where it boils the common denominator is that we truly understand and believe that life should be about constantly working to become the next best version of yourself. And we love that, right? Then the next step of that is the obligation we feel to give that out to others.
Right.
So that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Now, in a management and leadership stance of people that have stepped up to us that want to be a part and be on our side, it's just like what we do every day of our lives, but they're coming to us and saying, hey, we want to do this too now. So we strive to build everyone up around us. And now these people have just stepped up and said, hey, we want to actually go do this and help others do this as well. Right. So I think it's a stacking game. Like we're constantly just trying to build everybody up, but now these people have intuition inside their hearts and now go give it back. So I think it's really just beautiful because ultimately it's showing how that's all life should really be, is surrounding yourself with good people and growing and picking each other up. So I think that's what we're really, really proud of, having that tight circle now more than ever because we are so like-minded, even though we are so all different. Right? It's a really cool dynamic.
Yeah. On point. Very, very on point. Next question we have coming from Karen Farrell. Unbelievable woman. If you've never met her, busts her butt every morning, comes in like clockwork. Hard worker, very intelligent person. Here she goes.
Hi, I'm Karen Farrell, and I've been a Relentless member for 2 years, and I'd like to ask Matt and Paul a question. How do you know when it's the right time to make a change in your fitness journey?
How do you know when it's the right time to make a change in your fitness journey? Definitely want to take this to another level. Fitness journey is obviously important, right? But take another level just in your life journey. Changes, I think you have to be okay with understanding that changes happen every single day. Mm-hmm. That's a very important, growth point early on when you're working on human development for yourself. Is understanding that no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what actions you take, no matter how much you prepare, changes will happen every single day. Now, to make a drastic change, to make a big change, I believe that it takes a lot more. A lot more goes into it. That's when a lot of the intricate things that we bring to the table with our supervised training movement, with the way that we coach and the way that our team delivers and operates, that's when it comes into the planning and the preparation. More specific to the fitness journey, right? Mm-hmm. Is making sure that you're surrounded by the right people in the fitness world, in your whatever your gym you're at, your facility you're working out at, whoever's coaching you, is making sure that your programs are designed the right way, that they're for you and they're not just a cookie cutter and for anyone out there, just something to do, right? Mm-hmm. That in those moments that you're performing this stuff, that you're seeing small little wins, or that you're putting yourself in position to either have small successes or small failures, because you can learn from both of them. And then is also having the wherewithal to, whether it's on your own or with your coach or with your workout partner, whoever it is, to reflect on those things, right? So in the fitness world, knowing the right time, I believe, is understanding that it's always the right time to make a change in your I think change every day is important to put in front of you on your fitness journey.
Yeah, it's really good point. I think reflection was one of my favorite things that, like, towards the end, to wrap it all up, is that constant reflection, as well as self-awareness. Like, right. The beginning parts you were all saying, I would boil it down to self-awareness, right? So it's about understanding where you are and what are the changes that you want to make. Like, are they realistic, right? Like, self-awareness is a tough thing, because, like, you got to be real with yourself, And I think I like how you said earlier as well, like, fitness journey / life journey, right? Mm-hmm. Because I feel like they should kind of go hand in hand, really. Like, if you think about it, me personally, an adjustment I had to make throughout was, in the beginning of my time of fitness was all about lifting heavy, moving as much weight as I could, being strong. And you go through these phases, and, like, I love those things now, but the reality is that's not where my life is for me right now. Like, it's not about that. But that was a hard thing for me. Like, I'm just starting to figure out how to work with that, mm-hmm. because my mind still wants to do all those things. So I think self-awareness is important, because you have to be real and understand, like, am I putting myself in a position to be successful? Or am I just putting myself in a position to not, and possibly hurt myself or deter myself, or, have setbacks or injuries? Like, so fitness-wise, I think it's important, and like you said as well, it's important that that's the pride we take. Sometimes you need someone else to kind of tell you and do, like, a little assessment, sure. Right? Like, we take a lot of pride in, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, but, like, we're real with people. Like, someone's got to be real with you. So, like, if you can't be real with yourself, we're here to be real with you and be like, listen, like, do I think that you could possibly do this one day? Yes. But today's not that day, but we can progressively build up to that. Mm-hmm. Or I may say, hey, you know what? Like, I love where your intent's at, but this is only going to lead us down a bad path that I don't believe is right for you, right. And I think that also is a tough thing too, like, being able to deliver that message to somebody too. And I think because we care so much about the final, right, like, I'll bring it back to the whole overall question, like, we understand and pride ourselves so much in the end result, but we also understand the end result starts today. And sometimes it might not even be what you do today or tomorrow, but it could be a compounded mixture of those things that are going to progressively could make you worse, even or set back, because they're not the right things. Right, so, for sure. And in that moment, it's hard to see, because you're like, but I just did that yesterday. I feel pretty good, like, and you're like, no, but, like, I promise you, this isn't where you need to be, because futuristically, it's not going to actually get you where you want. So I think it's a tough thing. I think it's about understanding yourself, but also like from our perspective as a coach or a leader is to truly try to understand the individual in front of us, and then know like what's the overall goal. The overall goal is good intent. Right. It's about risk of injury low, results high, whatever that is, right? So good question. I feel like we could go all different ways with it. It's a cool dynamic, because I think you also need to pay attention. You also need to pay attention to what's going on in this given moment right now.
Right.
And what are true facts.
And it's interesting to see, because when we reflect back to our journey ourselves, as Matt and as Paul, with physical fitness and with exercise and with changing things up, we're huge advocates of going through it ourselves, like experiencing ourselves. It's something we do with our team members, is we bring them through the process and let them go through program design and let them feel it, not just like write things out, like feel, like exercise and feel the different movements and feel, that injuries come about, that movements don't work as well for certain people, that everyone's body is different and every reaction is different from people. So that comes huge with self-awareness, is putting the people in a position not just to point the finger and say do, but to do it yourselves, to go through it, to experience it, and then be there and understand that, kind of be present, but also, like you said, be that self-aware mindset for yourself to say, no, I've been here before, that doesn't work for me, or that does work for me, So Karen, I think it's a huge thing to sit down and reflect, and when the change does come, which is every day, reflecting on just constantly getting better within your workouts every single day. And it'll slowly bring you towards that point of full change. You may go into a certain phase, whether something you're practicing, right? A drill you're doing or exercise you're doing, and you might switch it up for 1 week and see that you're really feeling good with it. And then that might prompt you to kind of go in a different direction for your next programming or your next phase physically, whether it involves more running, less running, more weightlifting, less weightlifting, more focusing on yourself and your eating habits and health. There's so many variables like anything else in life. So it's just change. It happens every day, as we always talk about, and I personally never sit down and take a moment and say like, it's time to regroup and fix and change everything right now. I think that's drastic. That's overkill. That's in a sense of, that's more of a mental change.
Yeah.
Right? When you're shooting for it to be a physical change, and that's more of a mental change. At that point, you need to recognize, all right, how do I clear the mind a little bit? Right? How do I get the mind in a better place to attack these workouts? That is when you might realize in that moment that the workouts aren't the issue. The physical part isn't the issue. It's where I am with my mind, which is fine. Sure. So you readjust. And you go into it, as Matt always says, the physical things and the parts of the workout and what you're doing are all just little tools. Make sure you love what you're doing. If you don't love running, don't do it every single day. Put it in front of you to feel those moments of adversity. What I mean? Right. So it's fun. Honestly, have fun with it too.
I think our dedication to humans now and understanding empathy, like you're speaking on, so knowing that there's more than the physical side, has allowed us to understand humans overall. So, like, that does mean that human beings naturally want change, but they fear change, right? So, like, but it's about us having that connection with people to keep evolution. Mm-hmm. So, we want you to stick to something because you can progressively get better by repetition. But at the same time, you don't want to stick with something so long that you're like, I'm so sick of doing this. So it's about finding that sweet spot. We also want to challenge you, like you just said, by placing adversity in front of you of some things that maybe you don't want to do, but making you do them because it builds you as a human, but then also not overdoing it and being like, I can't stand this. This is like crazy. Now I really hate this. So I think it's, again, the dichotomy, that word I like to use, is like a forever changing. It's forever changing, especially the pride we take in the individuality of knowing our people. But I think it starts with, again, kind of coming full circle of understanding, like, where are you now? Where have you been? Which is, like, only a very small part of it. A more part of, like, learning, but not getting dwelling.
Yeah, what lessons have you learned?
Yes, that. And then it's like, where do we want to go? So, like, who are we now and how are we going to get there? Yeah. And then how are we going to paint that vision and how are we going to paint that road to get to that vision at the end of it?
Great question. Sometimes some of the simplest ones. That was Ira and Karen. Like very simple question, but it's some of those buzzwords are just great for a great topic, made for a great topic. You know. So our fourth and final question is going to come from Elizabeth Mattis. I think I pronounced that right. Only been a member with us for about 6 months to a year. Young woman, very hardworking.
Yeah.
As of recent, has I believe it has had some like small injury that she's overcame and came back in and really seeing how to work through it and keep herself going overall. But let's see where she's at.
Hey guys, it's Elizabeth. I've been a member at Relentless for about 6 months. My question for Matt and Paul is, how do you avoid getting distracted by other people's progress and kind of being pulled down by negative comparison, and just kind of keep your head focused on your own progress and your own day-to-day progression?
That's a good one. Nice. Well said, too. It's a good question. Well asked. I like the way she worded it. I think that right there, I think that's what we constantly go through this day in and day out, and it's not necessarily on an injury, it's also just about overall, it doesn't even have to be about a given scenario like that. Right. I think, especially with the way social media is today and how relevant and present everyone is to everything, I think it's very hard to fall into a compare and contrast thing. But without knowing the whole story. So I think that's a big thing of it too. It's like
huge.
People the world we live in, nobody wants to be, and this is again why we're here today. We want to be vulnerable. We want to show that we don't know all the answers, and we get nervous and anxious every day, but we just step up and figure it out. And we became more confident in these things, but it was never always like that. And I think the world today, everyone's so quick to show that highlight reel and the end result, but nobody wants to show what it took to get there. So a big shout out, number one, to anyone who's going out of their way to do that. There's some really good people out there that do that, and those are the people that we connect to and try to really follow. So that question, I think first it's about understanding, being selfish. Be selfish, know who you are, know what you want, and know that everybody's got their own story. Mm-hmm. So don't really go out of your way to compare and contrast. If anything, find this type of circle that it's not compare and contrasty, it's more picking each other up and feeding stories off of. So number one, if you feel like the people that you're surrounded with are more judgy and downward speaking, then I would recommend to take a step back and assess your circle, because unfortunately your circle is crucial. So there's a good old saying, I always go back to the pyramid story, but they say the pyramid is, they say success, and I say success is just success as a human being, of being internally happy. We'll stay with that. So success is desolate or lonely at the top, and that's not true. I believe that it's more like-minded individuals. So your circle may be smaller at this little top of the pyramid because it's very diluted down here. Everybody's down here. Mm-hmm. But when you start climbing up, it gets smaller. You have more like-minded individuals to your left and to your right, like you said earlier. But that's what you want. Those are the people that you want. So now, when you do have these setbacks or these moments, if I got a hard time or a setback and I call you, you're not going to put me down. You're going to build me up. And that is, I think, so crucial. And if you have those people in your life, you're better off cutting them out, finding great books, great podcasts of people that are like-minded and listening to them. And when you're feeling a little down, go talk with them a little bit more and let them build you up. And slowly you'll find a new circle of people, because there is people out there there's two types of people in this world. People who want to bring people down and bring them around them, or there's people that want to pick people up and feed off each other. So you got to figure out who you're around. I think that's crucial. Assess your circle too. Nowadays
too, the circle comes from all different ways, because it is so accessible in our hand. It is so accessible on our social medias. It's right there in front of us. Conversation group text, you're in a group text with 10, 15 people, say it's for a certain group, a fantasy football group, right? But it doesn't mean that those are people that you directly socialize with, but you still have to hear their voice, and you have to hear their input, and you have to hear their feedback, and it's funny, if a lot of us look down at our phones right now, we probably have, multiple groups that we're involved in. Same with our work life, home life, social pages that we follow. So if I could give one word of advice, it's use what Matt just said, and don't be afraid to, don't just use it sparingly. Be aggressive with it. Like he said, be selfish with it. Be confident in yourself. Continue to build yourself. Don't let those outside forces stop you from building yourself. That's number one. Have that mindset. Almost over the top, cocky, confident, right? You have the hard work ethic already, right? Most people have that already. Use it. Keep driving that. And at the same time, pay more mind to and also put more energy towards filtering around and cleaning out the things that are around you, because there is more things around us now. And that's just a matter of fact, right? There is more things around you. Take time to, say you follow 10, you follow over 1,000 things on social media. Go through all that. Make sure it's things that you want to follow that are not just popping up in front of your face. Because the reality, again, is that if you look at your screen time and what we do on our phone, I don't care. No, if you're lying if you say it's not more than 25, 30% of your day for every single person that has one of those social sites. You're lying. I think anyone is lying if they say that 20% of their day and screen time that they're on that phone isn't taken up by social media of some sort, which is fine, because a lot of us operate our businesses there, our lives are there, or we just like to use it because it's involvement. That's the type of social world that is available for us nowadays, right? More than ever. So take your time to clean that stuff up. Make sure it's stuff you truly want to follow, you truly want to listen to, that you should be listening to, right? We have a couple friends, and I know a couple people that sometimes they'll just do some social media cleanses. You laugh about it in certain times, but now it's more important than ever. When people were doing that, you're like, oh, it's a big deal. Just don't pay attention to it. No, it's an external force that's put in front of your face every day. It could be a vicious thing, right? So for Elizabeth's question, if you're following certain people in the fitness world or friends that are on certain journeys that, like Matt said, are only showing end results and are only showing moments, right? You need to take your time to do all this stuff and focus only on sustainable success, right? Because that is what's going to win long term, and that's what's going to allow us to build and get to the top of that pyramid.
Yeah, I think so many of us are so overly worried about what everyone else thinks about us. And then we go through paralysis by analysis. You overanalyze, well, if I do this, what are they going to say? So I truly think it first starts with understanding who you are and what you want to be. Because then once you know that, you don't really care. You just go start doing. And you just put your feet on the dirt and you just start getting it one foot after the other, And I think then you start picking and choosing, like you just said, whose words and whose inputs are you giving attention to? Because we only have so much energy. I don't know how much energy you're giving out. We only have so much energy for the day, right? So it's where are you putting it? I truly recommend that. Put more towards yourself than anything else, number one. And then number two, start picking and choosing who you're putting it out to. And then start cutting out those other things that don't work, because it's a beautiful, when you start connecting with like-minded individuals, because they are out there, and it could go the other way too. If you just want to do something different, that's fine. We're not saying right or wrong. We're saying just be true, right? So it's not a right or wrong thing. It's about figuring out what you are and what you want to be, and then surrounding yourself with those people. That's it, right? So I think it first starts with understanding that, and then once you see that, everything else kind of starts falling into place, And again, if you know someone that's in a weird place right now, share this podcast with them. Let's all connect, right? This is like-minded individuals connecting with people, And that's what we want to kind of do is share these moments and share these things, because Paul and I are doing this because we were blessed with something inside of us that now we're exploiting, but it was the ability to understand what we wanted and to never look back on it, and then fight every day to go figure it out and create. So that was just something that was in us, now we know it, and now we're just digging and working and feeding off of that. But I think it's important because that's inside of everybody. And it just needs to be popped off, and someone needs to just be like, no, you can do this. You can do whatever it is you believe, but you just got to believe first in your heart, and then you got to start pushing forward, and that's that, you know. So, really great question though. That's a good one. That's deep.
Awesome questions, and that was your finishing line there. You know what I always think about is just going with the topic of innovation in the future is like you have to create the ability to put yourself in the future, right? Put all your passion and love towards it. Come up with a plan, but understand that the work isn't done yet, right? And then enjoy that process and enjoy the work being done. Because the fact of the matter is that's what we're here for. You know, that's what we're here on this earth for, is to go through the things we love. So Matt and I established general concept of where we want our end game, or where we want the tail ends of our lives to be. What's enjoyable to us, what our love and our passion is. And one way or another in this wide spectrum of our journey, we're going to get there, and during that process of getting there is when we have to truly enjoy all these things, right? You have to, because if you don't, you're just going to see much more of an up and down and of a wave, right? You're not going to see that it's okay to have the little, but you're not going to see a steady of the line, right? It's like looking at the chart for the stock market, right? Like our goal is to slowly climb, and along the way just keep having sustainable success. A lot of these things that you see out there, they are moments in time. From it's okay, it's fine, but the human being feeds and thrives off of every day, not just of certain moments, right? We watch a lot of things of the past, of certain moments of, you know, whether someone hit a big home run, or someone one time hit a big shot, or maybe whatever they did in one moment in their life, unless they find a way to create love around that environment and whatever they did, right? We see all these stories all the time on ESPN and on 30 for 30 and on all these things that we look back on the news and on all these specials of where are they now?
Yeah.
Right? And most people that see those moments of you know, stardom in their life have trouble after keeping that sustainable happiness and success, right? So in this crazy world and the way everything is, know where you want to go, but know the work still needs to be done, and you have to love that work and keep the love in that work every day.
And keep enlightening perspective. Keep going out of your way to have conversations with people, to see that there's always a worse scenario and situation out there. You know, we just finished up with our golf outing, which we love to do, which is a very close family we're connected to, with the Honigs, that I keep near and dear to my heart, with losing our little buddy Jake the Tank Honig to pediatric cancer, which was a moment of perspective for me that has always been of like, there's some bad things that can happen in this world. You know, it's a blessing to be here. So let's leave that legacy of like, let's surround ourselves with good people and let's work hard, because the reality is there could always be something worse. Let's make greatness out of this. You know, let's make some lemonade out of some lemons. Right. It is possible. People have done it before us. They've done it under worse circumstances. So I think knowing that sometimes for people, it allows you to open up your mind, because if you just stay in your circle and then you only have your other circle of people that are telling you like all this, you feel trapped. You feel like it's like too much, right? And then all of a sudden you open up your mind and you see these other things. You're like, wait, all right, like I'm not the only one that's had to overcome some shit. Like, life is hard, period, right? Like, so what are we doing from there? And the only way you're going to do from there is by feeding off others and connecting and learning and growing and knowing, like you said before, it's like, it's the ultimate success is learning to love that process and have fun with it. And I think that's where we are now more than ever, is we understand, we love it, and we want nothing more than put our feet every day, day in and day out, to grow and evolve.
Right. Season 2, episode number 4, Q&A, The Relentless Way. Staying ahead with innovation while still focusing on the now. Focus on the now, attack your day, compound that into the next day, into the next week, next month. Keep rolling. Again, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. If you're watching us, tune in. We're fluffing everything up, trying to make it better and better as we go along and keep growing. If you have any ideas, any questions, anything at all, reach out to us. You know where to find us. The Relentless Way.
Let's all keep getting it.